welcome to another edition of Spotlight on Politics. I'm your host, Al Sipek. We're not going to talk about politics today. July 4th is coming up, and I thought I'd have a guest today that could talk a little about fireworks and fireworks safety. So I'd like to welcome my guest, Division Chief Brian Johnson of the Londonderry Fire Department. Brian?
Hi, Al.
Nice
Thanks for
to have
having
you
me.
on the show.
Thank you.
And needless to say, we're going to be talking a little about fireworks. So the first question I have for Brian is, what constitutes a firework and what are the different classifications of fireworks?
The fireworks that are permissible here in New Hampshire, the two classifications are Class B and Class C fireworks. Class B is what you're going to see at the big 4th of July celebrations. The Old Home Day celebration we have here in town is all Class B fireworks. Those are most commonly 3-inch shells up to 12-inch shells, large professional displays.
Okay, so that's not something a homeowner would blow off in the backyard.
Correct. Those are not what you can go down to any of the local fireworks stores and purchase. You have to be a licensed pyrotechnician. You have to go through state training. You have to have a permit through the state, through the local fire department as well, to shoot off Class B fireworks. The other category, which you can go to any of our 4 fireworks stores here in town and buy, is the Class C fireworks. Those are what has been deemed by the State Fire Marshal's Office as permissible to shoot off in the state of New Hampshire. Anything that is sold in New Hampshire can be shot off in Londonderry.
So years ago, I remember the Fire Marshal's Office used to publish a list of what was permissible. Do they still do that?
They actually did away with the list last year.
Okay.
The list actually got to about 72 pages of what was permissible.
Wow.
With hundreds of items on each page. Now they've come out with a shorter list of what's not permissible in the state of New Hampshire. There are certain items that, like little helicopters that fly up, firecrackers, bottle rockets, a lot of the items that fly up can catch on fire and go into your neighbor's yard, something like that, and start a fire. Those are not permissible. There are tons of other fireworks that could do the same thing, but are permissible. And like I said, you walk into any one of our fireworks stores, you'll find a wide variety of fireworks, and they're all legal in New Hampshire, so they're legal in Londonderry. What we want to remind people is any firework is explosives. So no matter how small it is, how innocent it looks, or how cute the packaging they put on it, they're explosives. You can lose limbs, you can lose your life.
Eyesight.
Absolutely. You hold any of these fireworks that say do not hold, you can lose a finger, a hand, an arm, eyesight absolutely. They need to be used properly. In all the fireworks stores that we have here in town, they give out safety information with any purchase. And they're also trained to give out safety information if they have any questions. Or people can call the fire department if they have any questions on the fireworks.
Okay. You had mentioned the neighbor's yard. So what if your fireworks go into the woods and start a forest fire in the neighbor's yard? Are people liable for those?
Absolutely. If you light off fireworks, you choose to light off fireworks in your own backyard, if you meet all the requirements, say you do everything safely, even if you meet all the requirements, but you light your neighbor's house on fire, their neighbor's boat on fire, cause any damage, you are responsible. You are liable for that damage. It kind of falls under the same thing as the state outside burning rules.
Right.
You know, it's permissible, but you are the one responsible for any damages. You need to contain those fireworks. You need to make sure that they're done safely, which is kind of hard sometimes when you're shooting off, because they do have 2-inch shells here in town, and the average is 100 feet per inch of a shell.
Oh, wow.
So the 2-inch shell is going to go about 200 feet in the air. It's hard to say where that's going to land. But you're still responsible for any damages incurred by those fireworks.
So let's go into these 2-inch shells. Are these what people put in their own mortar or something? Or?
Yeah, they do have reloadable mortars that just became permissible the past couple of years. And it's a little shell. You have to be very, very careful with them. I prefer, if you're going to use fireworks, to use the cakes, which are like the large boxes, because they're more stable. They're already prepackaged. You light the wick, they go off. With the reloadables, you have a tube that you are putting the shell in every shot. You have to make sure you put the shell in correctly, because if you put it in upside down, you could have a misfire. If it's wedged in at an angle, it could misfire in the tube. So you have to really know what you're doing if you're using reloadables. And also, if the tube will come with the reloadables. If 6 shots come with that tube, that's all that tube is rated for. So once you're done with those 6 shots, doesn't mean you can open the next package, grab some more, and drop them in that tube. Because now you're taking a chance of that tube rupturing and causing injury to the shooter. So if there's 6 shots with the tube, once you're done with them, you throw the tube out as well. If you get another package, you have to start off with a new tube. They're only rated for as many shells that come with the package.
So a cake is like a big box that you buy with all kinds of different things in it.
Correct.
And just light it once.
Yeah, like that. It may have 100 shots, may have 200 shots, and inside that box will be a bunch of little tubes, but they're all packaged together and they're all wicked together. So you light one wick, and you can stand back and watch 100 different things or 200 different things shoot up into the sky. Enjoy the show a little more. And like I said, where it is a big box, there's less chance of that tipping over, where with a reloadable, you have a small 2-inch tube where if that falls over, as I stated, a 2-inch tube will go 200 feet.
So now you got a cardboard cannon.
Yeah, well, if it'll go 200 feet up, it'll go 200 feet towards your family.
Very good point.
So you have to be very careful with fireworks.
Okay, so for either the tubes or the cakes, do you have any tips on lighting wicks that people should be aware of?
The ones in New Hampshire, they have to come with a slow burning wick. They are also, depending on what they're firing off, they have a specific length of the wick that is done from the manufacturer. If you light a wick and it goes out, or you have a misfire, we never recommend relighting a wick.
Okay, can you say that one more time for everybody listening?
Yeah, if a wick goes out, you have a misfire, anything goes wrong with that firework, you never want to relight it.
So you don't go out, light off the propane torch and go like that to the wick?
Correct. Because if something went wrong, you don't know that if now you light it, are you going to have enough time to get away from that firework before it goes off? I mean, they're explosives. They really are. So what we recommend is if something like that happens, you let it stay cool, cool down for a couple of hours. You may want to contact the store where you purchased it. Some of the stores will take that back where it was something wrong with it. They may issue you another one, give you your money back, whatever it may be. They'd rather see that come back to them than you light a damaged wick and have medical problem or a misfire causing injury to the person. And that's why when you're looking at all these fireworks, we have regulations. Any purchases over $500 in Londonderry, you have to come to the fire department, get a permit. We come out, inspect your fireworks, make sure they're all permissible. We inspect where you're going to be shooting the fireworks from, where you're going to be having your crowd of visitors, because the fireworks have to be shot off 75 feet away from any structures. They have to be 75 feet away from any spectators, and they have to be 50 feet away from any overhead power lines. So we come out, make sure that you have the area to shoot off the fireworks safely, make sure that the people are going to have a fun 4th of July and not have to worry about injuries.
That's a good point. Good point.
And that's why we do the inspections, is because there are some yards in town where you don't meet these requirements. So under state law, and that's where these requirements come from, they can't shoot the fireworks off in the yard. Just because they're permissible in Londonderry doesn't mean everybody can shoot them off. You have to be the property owner or have written permission from the property owner. So your condominiums, your apartments, your mobile home parks, unless you have written permission from the property owner, you cannot shoot off fireworks in Londonderry.
Right, and I take it most apartments and condominiums probably wouldn't meet the requirements anyway.
Correct, and that's where it comes into that, are you going to have the distances from buildings, from spectators, from power lines? If you can't meet those, even on like I said, a private home, you can't,
Right.
unfortunately, shoot off the fireworks. And then we recommend you go to one of the local communities that have 4th of July fireworks and go enjoy a professional display.
So just so the public is sure about that, again, if you don't meet those requirements, and where can they get a copy of the requirements?
They're posted on our website.
Okay.
We have them. We actually have quite a bit of firework information on our website right now. The State Fire Marshal's Office just came out with a bulletin, a warning that we have issued a press release on. So hopefully that'll be coming out in the local media. We have it on our website. We also have our Consumer Fireworks Safety Regulations check sheet on our website, which that'll list all the clearances, everything you're going to need to meet to be able to shoot off fireworks.
Now, is that local or state regulation?
The ones we have on our website are local regulation.
Local regulations.
But they're pretty much mirror state.
So the state
Regulations.
also has regulations
Absolutely.
on distances?
Yeah, all the distances we have come from the state regulations.
I see, okay.
Certain things like you have to be 21 years of age to shoot off fireworks. We have a lot of people that say, oh, I let my kid light the fireworks because it's fun. It's illegal. You have to be 21 years of age to purchase fireworks. You have to be 21 years of age to light fireworks. So what we recommend is, have the kids stay back the 75 feet, let them enjoy the show, let the adults, take care of the fireworks. You never want to be consuming alcohol or recreational drugs, anything like that when you're shooting off fireworks.
Good point.
You want to make sure you have your wits about you because once again, as I've stated before, they are explosives. We don't want to see anybody get injured with these. We've been very fortunate in town with the fireworks stores disseminating all the safety information. Our injuries have actually gone down with those stores because they're selling a safer product, they're selling a regulated product, and they're giving out safety information. So we have had less fires and less injuries, and we'd like to keep it that way.
So I take it that are there requirements for the stores that sell
Yes.
fireworks? And could
Absolutely.
you go over those?
Any store that wants to sell fireworks in the state of New Hampshire has to have a permit from the state police. They have to have a local permit from their local fire department. They are inspected by a special team at the State Fire Marshal's Office, and they're also inspected by the local fire department. We go in there quite frequently, do surprise inspections. Their regulations are much higher than any other regular retail store. Their fire alarms, their sprinkler systems are far beyond what is normally required in any other retail store. And the regulations on their aisle widths are larger. Their store shelving inside, if you notice, can only be 6 feet high. Their regulations are a lot stricter than a normal retail store, and they're regulated here in Londonderry by myself and the State Fire Marshal's Office. We're in all those stores quite frequently, and we have a very good working relationship with them, and they know that we're in there frequently, and the offenses are very minimal. They do a very good job keeping the stores within the laws.
Now, if you go into one of these stores, and personally I haven't, do they have sections where New Hampshire residents buy things and other people buy things, or how do they
No,
set
the
that up?
only thing that is allowed to be sold in New Hampshire is what is permissible to shoot in New Hampshire. So, like if we go into a store and find firecrackers, they can get fined. The product will be taken from them, confiscated. And they could also lose their, if we decide here in town that it's a large enough offense, we could revoke their town license. As soon as we revoke their town license, they immediately lose their state license. They can no longer sell fireworks in the state of New Hampshire. Same thing as if the state comes in and finds something, they can revoke their state license, they'd have to close the store immediately and remedy the problem. And sometimes it does go to a court case when they do cite them. The stores definitely want to avoid that because they're closed until that's remedied.
And this being the time of year where they probably make their most money.
Absolutely. So right now they're very good at behaving themselves. I mean, not that I've had a problem with the stores in town. They've all done a great job here in Londonderry. They're very considerate with our wants and needs, and like I said, they know that I'm going to be stopping in there quite frequently. They know that the state stops in there quite frequently. And this is throughout the entire year. It doesn't matter whether it's 4th of July or 2nd of November, we stop in because the same rules apply to that store.
So if I go into that store, anything I want to buy there is permissible in New Hampshire?
Correct.
Okay,
They're
that's
not
good.
allowed to sell anything that cannot be ignited or shot off or
No,
whatever.
can they sell to out-of-state residents?
They can. It's up to those residents whether, because like Massachusetts, the fireworks are illegal. It's legal for us to sell to them. They're not supposed to be bringing it across state lines. At
Gotcha.
that point, unfortunately, it's a Massachusetts issue
Issue.
at that point.
They're breaking
Massachusetts
another state's law.
Correct. A lot of times they'll come up and say, "Oh, I have a friend up north. I'm bringing him to." It's like, you're allowed to buy them here. My only concern as working for Londonderry is you need to be a property owner to shoot them in Londonderry.
Gotcha.
What they do with them afterwards, unfortunately, we don't have a lot of say on. Whether they're bringing them to other states. We never recommend you coming here to buy fireworks to break another state's laws.
Right.
At that point, same thing, go see a professional show, enjoy the 4th safely, with a Class B display.
How about if I don't use all my fireworks that I bought this year? Can I store them, and how should I store them for next year?
They probably shouldn't be stored for a year. If you want to use them at another time, you want to keep them in a cool, dry environment. You never want to let the fireworks get wet. The gunpowder can become unstable. The packaging, for the most part, is cardboard.
Right.
So you definitely want to make sure it's a dry environment that they're kept in. Even if you're just buying them this week for next week, you want to make sure they're kept dry. You don't want them in a place that's too hot, and you definitely want to keep them away from any source of ignition. Whether it be an electrical panel, a furnace, water heater, anything that could spark an ignition.
Wood stove.
Absolutely. And we never really recommend them being stored in the home. If you have a shed, a garage, somewhere that can keep them dry, that's definitely a better idea. And the best idea is purchase what you plan on shooting off for this shoot. If you're only going to be having a little 10-minute show, only buy enough fireworks to get you through that. Don't buy enough that you need to store them that long. The stores are open 12 months out of the year. You can always go back and get more.
Right. And if you don't store them, then you don't have the problem of little people deciding to play with the fireworks.
Absolutely. You got to be very careful when it comes to children. 2 years ago, we had some young males that found some sparklers in an older kid's fort with a lighter. The curiosity got to them. They lit the sparklers. The spark hit one of the kid's hands. He dropped it. Lit some dried leaves on fire. The 2 individuals were actually trapped between a chain link fence and the burning leaves. Fortunately, they were able to get out around the fire. The wind shifted, the fire went the other way. Unfortunately, the fire was heading towards the child's grandmother's house. We always tell people, you don't want to be the one to have to tell mom and dad you burnt down grandma's house. We got there was no damage to the home, put out the fire. The kids were okay, the home was okay, everything was all right, except for the fact that the kids were playing with fireworks. Unfortunately, as you stated, if there's kids around, the curiosity, they're going to want to play with these things. So if you don't store them, you don't have that chance of them having that curiosity. One reminder, with something as simple as sparklers, it's in the state's warning that came out. People think sparklers are great for little kids.
Mm-hmm.
Sparklers burn at 1200 degrees or higher. I have never been a fan of giving something at 1200 degrees to a child. Water boils at 212 degrees, glass will melt at 900 degrees. We're giving a child a 1200 to 1500 degree flaming stick. You need to be careful with sparklers. If they are going to use sparklers, make sure you have a bucket of water or a bucket of sand nearby, so when they're done, they can extinguish them in the bucket of water or stick them into a bucket of sand. Because even if adults are using sparklers and they have the metal stick, if you just drop them and a child or even an adult walks by barefoot, now you could be stepping on a 700-800 degree metal stick.
Right.
You're still going to get burns. So we're just trying to prevent any injuries and make sure everyone has a happy and safe holiday. But we want people to realize those cute little sparklers that everybody's playing with, like I said, there's a 1200 degree metal stick that we're giving to little kids. So it's not our recommendation, but if they're going to be used, please make sure it's under adult supervision and they're extinguished properly.
I can imagine a lot of times they give off sparks, of course, so you don't want to have that near your eyes either.
Oh, absolutely. And you have to be very careful what you're wearing if you're going to be using sparklers. First of all, like you said, if they get too close to your eyes, it's a flaming piece of metal that is coming off there.
Right.
If you get those in your eyes, it can cause damage. If you get it on your skin, it can cause burns. And we have seen children, depending on what they're wearing for clothing, the clothing can ignite. And so,
like you're wearing polyester right now,
absolutely,
which I would not wear if I was using a sparkler. I'd use cotton.
Absolutely.
All
Yeah,
right.
you want natural fibers. Your cotton is very good for even adults that are lighting off fireworks. We recommend cotton attire because if you're wearing polyester and you get a spark on it, it's either going to melt or ignite very easily. And now you've taken something something as simple as a happy day with a sparkler, and you could have third-degree burns and totally change the holiday. And and with burns, it could be months of painful surgeries, hospital stays, and these are all things we want to avoid just because someone's playing with a sparkler.
Good points.
Right.
Definitely good points. What else can you think of that people should be aware of?
If anything does go wrong with sparklers, you want to make sure you have some way of dialing 911. You want to dial 911 as soon as possible. If something goes wrong, you have even if it's a small fire started by fireworks or someone gets injured, you want to call us immediately. Londonderry Fire Department does a great job, but we're an invitation-only agency. If you don't call us, we don't know what's going on. So even a small fire, get us on the road, get us coming out to help. We'd much rather show up and find out that the fire's been extinguished, which is another thing. If you're doing fireworks, you need to make sure you have some sort of extinguishing agent, whether it be a fire extinguisher, garden hose, something like that with you. And if we find out that you've put out the fire, that's great. The guys will get back in the truck and go back to their quarters. But we'd rather show up and put out a small fire than show up and find 5 empty fire extinguishers and your neighbor's yard on fire because nobody called us.
Right.
Most of our larger fires here in town have gotten that way because of delayed notification. If somebody had called us as soon as the fire started, we may have been able to keep that fire smaller.
Yeah, and there's one other thing I can think of with sparklers because I remember it as a kid. Kids would light sparklers, they'd have them in their hand, and they'd run all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about that.
As you stated, the kids want to run with them. They look good. As you're running around, first of all, some of them have wooden sticks now, but a lot of them have the metal sticks. You never want to run, first of all, with a metal stick, never mind with a flaming metal stick. If they trip and fall, it could now cause injuries to them. They could drop it on someone. Moving around like that, you don't know where the sparks are going. It's a much easier opportunity to cause a brush fire or a grass fire or something like that by running around with them. But the biggest thing that we want to be careful of, all our parents taught us don't run with scissors.
Yes.
This isn't any different. It's probably more dangerous. You can stand there with a pair of scissors all day long and nothing's going to happen. You stand there with the same sparkler, it's going to light my shirt on fire.
Right.
So they're very dangerous. You got to be careful. And if they do trip and fall, it is a very sharp metal stick that
Right.
could impale the skin, go into an eye, whatever it may be. We just don't want to have to deal with the injuries. Want everybody to be safe and happy.
Great. So what else can you think of?
Check. One issue, which hopefully this year won't be a problem, the only time that fireworks are permissible is on a Class 3 or lower fire danger day.
Can you explain the different classes?
Yeah. With the different classes, they start out as a Class 1, which is low. Most people will see the Smokey Bear sign out in front of all the fire stations, and they'll have low, moderate, high, extreme, and very extreme. and class 3 is high. So we ask people to be more careful with them, but if it's a moderate or low day, you can shoot off the fireworks. Once you get into extreme or very extreme, then you cannot shoot off fireworks in Londonderry. It has to be a class 3 or lower day. And that all is determined at the state level. We have a link on our website which you can click on, which will tell you the fire danger level for the day.
I was just going to ask you if the public can find that out every day.
If they go to our right to the fire department's homepage on the town's website, there's a link right there you can click on, and which is londonderrynh.org, and go to the fire department section, and you can click on the fire danger, and it'll tell you for your county what the fire danger is. And as long as it's a 3 or lower, it's permissible to shoot off fireworks. The higher the danger, the drier everything is.
Right.
Springtime, this spring we had a very high fire danger. Everything was dry. There was a lot of leaves on the ground. Now that summer's here, things have greened up. The trees have greened up. We have green grass. The fire danger is a lot lower. Today's definitely helping out with the rain. Today we're a class 1 fire danger day. It's raining out. So that definitely helps out. But when the fire danger does get high, it's a higher chance of that firework that went up 200 feet in the air coming down. If it's still hot enough, you're going to cause a fire. And most likely it's not going to be in your yard. Like we talked about earlier,
yes.
Now you're responsible for wherever that fire started.
Great.
So
that's great. So that's good. I think you've done a fantastic job. Let's go over one more time the requirements for a private homeowner to use fireworks.
Okay. You have to be 21 years of age to purchase the fireworks and to shoot off the fireworks. Where the fireworks are shot off from has to be 75 feet away from any structures and 75 feet away from the spectators. They have to be 50 feet away from any overhead power lines, phone lines, anything like that. You need to have some sort of extinguishing agent, whether it be a hose, an extinguisher, anything like that with you. You cannot be under the influence of alcohol or drugs while shooting off the fireworks, and you are responsible for any damages that are done to your property or someone else's. There are some insurance companies that, and that's something else you may want to check with your insurance company to see if they have an issue with you shooting off fireworks.
Good point.
Just because they're permissible in New Hampshire doesn't mean your insurance company is going to allow you to shoot them off in your backyard. So if something happens and you burn down your house, your insurance company has the right, depending what your policy is, to say, you shot off fireworks, we don't cover that.
Right, and if you, like these boxes you were talking about,
cakes?
I can see, you can see that some of them will cost for like $400.
Yes.
So you mentioned the $500 mandatory inspection. So if I buy 2 $400 ones, I've now met the $500.
Correct.
And they have to call you and get you to inspect the site.
Yep. They come down to the fire department, fill out a permit. We set up a time for an appointment. We come out, look at the fireworks, look at the site, make sure that everyone's got the proper clearances, which we do for anybody. Even if you're going out and buying $50 or $100 worth. If you want to make sure that what you're doing is safe and you have a good area, or you're looking for recommendations, we will gladly come out and look at your site to make sure that it's safe. We'd rather do that prior than show up later on and find out that someone's house is on fire because they didn't have the clearances.
Right, and all they have to do to get in contact with you is go to the website.
Yep.
And if they don't have the internet, it's what, 432?
432-1124. And our dispatchers make all my appointments. They take all my phone calls, and the dispatchers are there 24/7. So no matter what day, no matter what time of day, they're always there to answer the phones, or they're there if you want to walk in and see them personally, and they can set something up.
Well, great. Well, Brian, thank you very much.
Thank you, Al, for
I know
having
you've
me.
been very informative about fireworks, and folks, I hope you listened carefully to Brian. He had a lot of good safety tips, a lot of good regulations that you have to meet to be able to use fireworks. Have a safe 4th until I see you again on the next Spotlight on Politics. Thank you.